Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Since you're new to H&R Block, we'll look at your returns from the last 3 years for any money your last guy might have missed, for free.
I could get money back from last year?
You could. We'll find any mistakes.
Could have really used that 2 years ago when I dated that mistake for 5 months.
Don't leave money on the table. Switch to H&R Block and get a free second look review. Second look is included at no additional cost with the purchase of tax preparation. Results vary. All tax situations are different. Fees apply if you have us file an amended return.
We sit outside in some bleachers, and it's profound to me to hear young boys stand up and talk from the heart, to speak about things like gratitude, like humility, like respect. We have hero stories, people like Muhammad Ali, people like Martin Luther King. I got Lou Gehrig in there, I got Bruce Springsteen in there, and it's a powerful way for them to reflect deeply on other skills beside blocking and tackling.
Welcome to this episode of Sprint-Based Football, presented by Titan GPS. Founded and based in Texas, Titan GPS is your key to sprint-based football success. Designed specifically for high school football, Titan tracks the metrics that matter, like top speed, explosive acceleration, and even the powerful truck stick, speed times weight, for the ultimate performance insight. Whether it's optimizing practice, spotlighting players with 3D highlights, or giving recruiters verified in-game stats, Titan delivers. And with no minimums to get started, Titan walks you through every step. Message them on X @TitanSensor to learn more. Titan GPS, performance measured, potential unlocked.
Hey, I'm really excited about having a podcast today with Erik Becker from Daniel Hand High School in Madison, Connecticut, where he's won 23 out of his last 25 games. They were state champs last year. They're sprint-based. They're feed the cats. I don't think there's a day when we're not communicating back and forth, even though I think we've only met once in person. The beauty of this format is that we're able to be good friends and talk and all that. So really excited about this podcast. So here we go.
Hey, thanks so much. I'm blessed and grateful to be here. I had a great day and super pumped to talk to you.
It's winter, and you can now get almost anything you need for the coldest months of the year delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a ski slope delivered, but you can get dish soap delivered. Sunshine, that's a no. But a bottle of wine, that's a yes. A snow angel, sorry, no. But angel hair pasta, Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol and select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
So tell me, I don't know if I've ever asked you, what were you like as a player?
Nah, not very good, I think. First of all, I grew up in Madison, Connecticut, best town ever. Shout out to Madison. I attended Daniel Hand High School, which is a nationally recognized school for excellence. We're actually a Blue Ribbon Award winner, which I'm super proud of. And I played football with my whole heart. I wasn't necessarily an incredibly gifted player, but I gave it my all. I enjoyed contact, and I like to work hard. I like to push myself.
I think a lot of coaches say that same story, that a lot of times the best coaches were not the athletic phenoms where the game came easy. I say the coaches are usually the guys that would win the sprints at the end of practice. They'd come early, stay late. They worship their own coach and listen to every word. And they had to do all those things in order to get to play. And I think that's why they end up being coaches. Were you that type of guy?
Yeah, that resonates with me. I want to shout out my high school coach, Steve Filippone, who's been the most important man in my life since I was 17. He's a father figure. He was our head football coach for 27 years. He's a soulmate to me, and I love him dearly. I want to shout out also, I played lacrosse at UMass. I got cut from the varsity team, played on the JV lacrosse team when it still existed for Coach Dietel, who helped me learn to love the work and find joy in the process of getting better. I'm a product of my influences.
Sure. Yeah, we are all products of our time and our place and all those things. But I would think that you probably coached in that hard-nosed, outwork the competition. I mean, that's just who you were. That's who coaches were. And you adopted sprint-based football how long ago?
Absolutely. Well, my first introduction to you was in the summer of 2018. And I heard you speak on Run the Power podcast. And I remember it distinctly. I was mowing the lawn barefoot and I clicked on an episode and the universe kind of stopped. You made sense to me in a way that was simple and down to earth and concrete. And I've always been a person who wants to kind of prove you right or prove you wrong. And I've been proving you right ever since.
Yeah. I look back at that podcast. That was done like in the last days of my teaching career.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Rowdy Harper and Brady Walls that did that podcast. And I remember sitting out and actually listening to the podcast and thinking, damn, this was good.
Yeah.
Because they got excited and I got excited. And I think, somehow the ideas came out maybe better articulated than they had in the past. And, but I remember that. So describe the things that you look back and kind of cringe, about your early days as a coach.
Well, I've had two incredible mentors named Tony. You're not the first. So in 2008, I was able to attend the Tony Franklin seminar. He's a football coach right now. He's at Louisiana Tech, and he was selling an up-tempo version of the air raid to high school coaches. And we went to a conference in Atlantic City. I emptied my cup, and I took a ton of notes, and I drank the Kool-Aid. And one of his big philosophies was that practice conditions you, and you don't condition it at the end of practice. It was kind of like an air raid principle. And that was an eye-opener for me. And once we started using his system, we experienced a ton of success. And then about 10 years later, I found you. You were somebody who spoke like a voice from the wilderness. I described you as somebody who'd sound like you'd been around the block more than once and, you were a heretic that didn't care what people thought. And you said things like you run fast to get fast. You said that speed is the difference maker. Speed is a tide that lifts all boats. You said that you can train speed. And up until that point, I had seen speed as a genetic gift, something that certain people were blessed with and certain people weren't. I was never exposed to speed training. But for the first time in my life, I started trying what you were talking about. Everything that you had said, I tried exactly on myself and on my players, and it worked.
You talk about air raid. It's fascinating. When I read The Perfect Pass,
Great book,
which is the greatest football book I've ever read, and written by a guy that writes history books about Stonewall Jackson and Empire of the Summer Moon, a great book about the Comanches. And but he wrote a book because he's from Texas about Hal Mumme and Mike Leach. I just remember that one quote that Hal Mumme, they asked, you're 10-0, what's your secret? And he says, we don't practice on Monday and Fridays, and we don't run gassers.
Yeah.
And I thought, hell yeah. I'm like sometimes I feel like I'm all alone on an island or something. Then I hear something from Hal Mumme, and I learned that Brian Kula was doing things the same way I was without knowing who I was. And so Charlie Francis, I don't do tempo running, but he did the high-low. He did the 2 or 3 days of sprint stuff. So it's really like people that are already leaning into things. So you were probably already leaning in
absolutely
to my ideas.
Yes.
And I think those are the people that dive in.
And you've done such an amazing job of simplifying the message. You talk about the book Essentialism all the time. You've taken something that can be made as complex as possible, and you've distilled it into completely relatable and understandable quotes, sound bites. You've laid it out and you've created a movement that has united coaches from every sport across the country. I remember when I saw you in Rhode Island with Jamie Monroe, with that group of Division I track athlete or Division I lacrosse athletes. There's guys in every sport and gals who are putting your principles to work.
Yeah, that's right. Because we met each other in Rhode Island. Then you came to Massachusetts for a clinic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So explain. Everybody wants to know what a week of practice looks like for sprint-based football. And that really gets to kind of the recipe. I say that I kind of take the easy way out because I teach a way to cook.
Yeah.
I'm a generalist.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have your performance day on Monday or Tuesday, but I think you better have a couple performance days every week where you're going, where it looks like game, speed, game, maybe more recovery in between plays, that type of thing. So most people that do sprint football have some type of high-low. I think Brad Dixon calls it sprint and non-sprint, which is what I called it first. Yeah. And now I call it performance, non-performance. Yeah. And can you explain what your week looks like? You play on Friday nights, right?
We play Friday nights. But before that, I'd like to touch on our off season, because that's, I think, where it starts. So my foundational principles, things that you have helped me understand, is that you run fast to get fast. So speed grows slowly by max speed exposure. My job is to expose kids to their max velocity in low doses in a fresh state. And over time, their speed will improve. Every kid will not top out at a 4.5, but every kid will get faster. I know that speed is the difference maker for any athlete. On any field, it's the most important metric. And I know that I can influence that metric by the way I train them. Speed separates good from great. A couple years ago in Connecticut, we had a linebacker who was an excellent player. He ran a 4.8. This is years and years ago. And he went to Gettysburg. He had a great career. A couple towns over, there was a linebacker who went to Florida. And I remember thinking, why is that kid going to Florida? And the answer was because he ran a 4.5. Speed separates good from great. So speed is the most important metric that I can influence on my players. As you've said many times, improving max velocity has global benefits to the athlete. We know that it's all important. I'm a high school coach. I have to get my kids into hypertrophy. I have to get them bigger. They have to grow in order to play high school football. We have to work on change of direction. Obviously, agility is important, aerobic capacity, all those things. But the most important thing is increasing max velocity. So everything else we do is looked at through the lens of increasing max velocity. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we train with our kids. We had a great training day today. And we always start with the atomic warm-up. The kids do RPR. We've gotten it to the point where our leaders lead RPR. We do zone 1 together on the field. We do the atomic warm-up. We go through it. We just did it with our kids today. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. They love it. It's fun. It's low dose. It hits on, plyometrics and the primes. And, the pogos, it's just a really fun little warm-up, And then we run fast. We use wickets, things that I commonly will time. I time 40s with a free lap. I give them a 5-yard run in just so that the data is consistent. I always tell coaches exactly the way we measure it. So it's not like, this kid ran a 4.2. This is a flying 40 with a 5-yard run in. I time a fly 10. I play with the different run-ins, but usually it's a 30-yard run-in to try to get that snapshot of their max velocity. I translate that to miles per hour. We do the wristbands. Kids have enjoyed that. That was another one of your ideas. We also will time takeoff. First 10, we do that more getting toward the season. Scott Leach from URI feels like that acceleration piece is really important toward the season. I get that. We've been playing with roll 90, which is a cool thing, a change of direction metric that you can do with free lap cones, 5-yard run in, 90-degree cut, 5-yard run out.
Now, did you learn that from Tony Villani?
I think I learned it from Mark Hoover.
Okay, yeah. And Hoover and Villani are good friends and work together. Yeah. Hoover's wife is actually Tony Villani's secretary. And so people that don't know what a roll 90 is, I'll re-explain. It's a 5-yard run in to a 10-yard metric, but you have to take a 90-degree cut. And of course, Tony teaches the cheat of that 90-degree cut to roll instead of basically running, stopping, and taking a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn. The great story, I love this, Patrick Surtain, who is he's up to be possibly Defensive Player of the Year, plays for the Broncos, first-round draft choice. Patrick was running about 1.8 in that. And Tony said, I'm 49 and watch me do it. He ran 1.69. And so Surtain's like, now, wait a minute. I should be beating you. He goes, okay, you want to learn how? This is how. And so basically, the whole story is that you have 2 good pushes, and then you better be slowing down, or you'll never take that turn very good. So the roll 90, after seeing Tony 2 weeks ago at our sprint-based football clinic in Saraland, Alabama, I finally absorbed how important that roll 90 is.
Wow.
And I think that's a great metric.
It's a great metric. Like you always say, testing is training. What you measure gets improved. So in each of these skills, whether it's a 40, whether it's a roll 90, there's ways to improve your time. And that's really what we're trying to do. When we go in the weight room, my major influence is Brian Kula. I love Brian Kula's work, the experience of lifting to increase mass specific force. I read Underground Secrets by Barry Ross. I recommend that to anybody. And, that weighted concentric only hex bar deadlift is something that I love with kids.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Welcome to Your Call, presented by the Headset app, the game-changing communication tool for coaches by coaches. Say goodbye to clunky headsets and hello to seamless sideline communication that keeps you focused on winning. Let's dive into today's Your Call, which is with Ryan Thomas. He's the athletic performance coach at Woodruff High School in Spartansburg, South Carolina. And he's going to share with us his sprint-based football schedule.
I'm Ryan Thomas from Woodruff High School, and I'm just going to give you our weekly setup here at Woodruff, how we implement sprint-based football. Our week starts on Sundays, and at 3 o'clock, we bring our players in and we split them up, offense and defense, and the offense will come out or the defense will come out, whatever coach tells me. And we'll do our dynamic prep for about 15 minutes. And then from there, I'll choose, usually earlier in the season, I'll do something called quarters with our guys. But what I try to do is early in the season, I'm still working on their energy system. And everything is energy system based. So even though it's football is more of a older school phosphagen energy system, we go really fast. So I train them in a glycolytic system. So basically there's a 5-to-1, 6-to-1 work to rest ratio. Monday we come in and they're here at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll prehab for 7 minutes, knees, ankles, hips. It takes 7 minutes, and then we're going to go into our heavy upper. And it usually the lift takes 35, 40 minutes, and then they go to class. Our practice will start at 4, and this is where we really start. On Mondays, coach gives me periods 1 through 5, and we don't do any football stuff. Periods 1 and 2 are all dynamic prep. Period 3, we hit one. It's 5-minute period. We hit one 40-yard sprint with our skills and one 20-yard sprint for our bigs, and they're competition sprints. So they pick somebody or however we want to create a good atmosphere for competition. But since I choose only one to run one, I want them to compete so they get up to top speed. But they also know the next morning when they come into school, I'm going to have their miles per hour posted for every student in the entire school to see. So rank, record, and publish. But when I publish it for all 900 students to see. So they know they got to go. Now, periods 4 and 5, football is a change of direction sport. I have 2 periods we call SAC, speed and quickness. So I set up 5 change of direction stations, the pro agility, L drill, it could be some type of hurdle, but it's 5 change of direction competition drills. And on Mondays, we run 2. They have 1 minute and 30 to get 2 reps. So I want 35 seconds in between reps. And then there's a 30-second transition. So I still want them recovered, and I want them changing directions as fast as possible. So we're working on getting better, but it also helps condition them as well, like we did on Sunday. So it's sprint conditioning, working on our energy system. And then we go ahead and transition to period 6, and coach calls this fastball. And fastball, I call it team pass. It is offense versus defense, 5 minutes, all out competition as fast as you can go. On Tuesday, they'll come to me at 8. We do PNF stretching. I have them for an hour, and that's proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation of their legs. So it's partner stretching. We're working on getting a really deep stretch in there, recovering their legs, because Tuesday we call Tough Tuesdays. This is our high CNS day in practice. But I'm going to recover their bodies from Sunday and Monday and get them ready, because it's all football. My job is to get them ready for practice. So Tuesday's their tough day. When I say tough day, anywhere from 90 minutes to 110, possibly 120, but usually around 110 minutes. When they come in on Wednesday, I have them at 8 a.m., and we'll prehab for 7, then we'll do a dynamic lower. So now their practice is on Wednesday and Thursday, the CNS level is going to drop. But I want in the training their dynamic effort to be up, because I'm still training the brain how to fire. I don't need the weight real heavy, but we're going to do a lot of tsunami work. So we're going to really go fast, maybe speed squats, speed single leg, lateral power steps, anything that fires that CNS on the lower body day. Practice on Wednesday. I get 4 periods. So we'll dynamic prep. We'll sprint again. We'll do a 40-yard sprint, skills, 20-yard for bigs, and then they know that's being posted once again. So they got to compete. They got to pick somebody that's going to push them, because period 4, we the sack stations are already set up, and it's the same 5 as we did on Monday, but they only have 1 rep. Thursday is my favorite day of the week. We start at 6:30 a.m. With walkthrough. So they have a quick dynamic prep, 5 minutes. They'll walk through and they'll do that. And at 7:15, we go through our pre-game dynamic prep, whatever, our prep we're going to do for the game. Then from our dynamic prep, which usually takes 10 minutes, we'll go into speed sack. Well, 8 o'clock, they're to be in our weight room, and then we have a dynamic upper, tsunami based, whether we're military pressing, quarterbacks will do rotational stuff, single arm speed sticks, but I want that CNS firing, because when they're done with that lift, it's automatic recovery time. We don't see them again till the following morning. They don't have any practice in the afternoon. When I see them on Friday morning, 7-minute prehab at 8 o'clock, and then we have a game day tsunami lift. So I have 6 exercises, 2 sets. I want to fire that CNS fast, but the lift takes 12 minutes. And I just want to get them going. By game kickoff at 7:30 on Friday night, they've had 36 hours of recovery. We've ramped them up during the week, and then we brought them back down, but their CNS is firing fast due to the dynamic nature of the lifts. And then kickoff on Friday, we want to go fast, because that's the way we practice. Our statistics is back in August, we have five guys. Now, this is after the summer, but we had 5 guys that were in a month time were greater than 20 miles per hour, 10 over 19. And altogether, we had 15 over 19 miles per hour. In November, we had 1 guy over 22, 5 over 21, 7 over 20, and 10 over 19. 23 of our 42 guys at that time were over 19 miles per hour. And then our PRs from the year, we ended up with 2 over 22. Those were in game. 1 was a long touchdown, and 1 was a bad. We fumbled and we're chasing. So we had 2 over 22, 5 over 21, 13 over 20, and 10 over 19. 30 of our 42 players were greater than 19 miles per hour for the entire season. And Coach Sloan, Brett Sloan at Woodruff High School, does a fantastic job implementing this philosophy into his team.
Coach, thanks for sharing everything here. It was really great to get a look at how you guys do things and how you're building your program. That's it for this edition of Your Call, presented by the Headset app. Ready to take your game day communication to the next level? Download the Headset app today and see how it can transform the way you coach. Take it for a 1-week test run and you'll see why coaches love the Headset app. Link is in the description.
So you're doing that exact Barry Ross and then Brian Coolidge, ATR stuff called Mass Specific Force, where you are lifting and dropping.
Yeah, certainly. So when we're at lower weights, we will lift and lower, because again, we have to get our kids in hypertrophy. We need to, we're not working with professional athletes. So a Christian McCaffrey, he might not need to gain any weight. If my sophomore weighs 130 pounds, he needs to gain some weight, right? So we're going to lower it. But when we get into the higher numbers, we're going to lift and drop, as you guys know, or as you know.
It's more of your elite athletes that are doing concentric?
Yeah, I think what we normally do is that when we're working up toward our max or toward 85% or up of our max deadlift, we're going to raise and lower. And as we get toward that 85% or higher, we're going to lift and drop.
And then do you superset with the plyometric?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we'll do a little French contrast. We have the banded jumps. We have plyo boxes, we have broad jump stations. So we will combo those, either one right after the other or one in between the other.
Gotcha. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so that training is year round. We record, rank, and publish, and it's joyful. It's super fun. I love the work. When we do condition, I know, which is kind of a taboo word, we use the tribe test. Tribe test is something that I learned through Track Football Consortium. It has a rugby origin, and essentially, as you know, our players are on the line. Get them in a stance. You can be standing up. You could play with different starts. On the whistle, they are sprinting as fast as they can to the 20. Some people have them touch them with their foot, which is like a in-game change of direction. Some people do hand. Sometimes we play with like left hand, right hand, just like, adding some different stimuli. And then you're running back toward the goal line until the second whistle blows. The interval will be 4 or 6 seconds, which simulates a football play. And then you have your recovery. You have your 30 to 40 second window where you're actively recovering. You're walking back to the line. I always have my players high five, connecting with each other. Just like in between a football play, you talk to your team, you get your mind right, you get ready to go, and you build up. We start with 6, build up to 8, build up to 12, and it simulates a drive. It is football specific conditioning that I believe translates directly to the game.
It's interesting. Kier, when he presented that at TFC, he wanted it to be 6 reps, but his coach didn't think it was hard enough. The typical, problem we have. He said, yeah, but the average drive is 6 plays. He goes, yeah, but some of them are 12.
Yeah.
And what coaches have figured out is that, guys learn how to play 12. Things are going pretty good. You're not dead tired, but you're also kind of gamifying with that. When that whistle blows at 4 seconds, they're supposed to see where they got to, correct?
Right. Exactly. Right. So we give them metrics. We say skill guys are going to get back to the 5, mids are going to get back to the 10. Sometimes bigs will get back to the 15. Very rarely I've had a few kids be able to, go to the 20 and back. It's rare, but it happens. And it's my favorite conditioning exercise with kids. We also do a whole bunch of Scott Leach's Gridiron Warrior stuff, which is, again, you talk about gamifying. It is very football specific because it helps kids learn to move in open space. So they're all variations of some kind of like tag, chase games. They talk about small side games. Essentially, you're working on tracking a hip. You're working on using open space to evade or to close space. And I recommend his work. He's a phenomenal resource doing really cool stuff at URI.
He's a rock star, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool guy. And he was at your Massachusetts clinic with Chris.
Yeah. When of course, that's instant respect for me when a college S&C guy from Rhode Island drives over to see 2 high school coaches, talking crap in a feed the cats a clinic or something. But he took notes the whole time. And I just think he's that kind of guy. And I notice he's been doing a lot of presenting lately too.
As he should.
As he should, and I wouldn't be surprised if, I really don't know if I would wish going Power 5 on anybody, but he has the talent to rise as far as he'd like.
I would agree. They had a great football season. They played in the playoffs for the first time in a number of years.
Yeah, he was showing me, I remember at that clinic, he was showing me a 335-pound offensive tackle that was like, it showed me how much he'd improved with his speed and jumping metrics.
Yeah.
And of course, that kid had 5 offers from Power 5 schools in the portal.
Yeah.
Like big time.
Let's talk about your article on big cats. Big cats, not hots. Those big kids need to be exposed to their max speed also. I know there's people who are going to question everything, but I believe strongly that those big kids benefit, like you say, globally from max speed exposure.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. You had a supersized cat.
Yeah, we've had a few, right? So right now we have a young man named Timmy O'Malley, who I think is the kid you're referring to. He's a rising senior. He's a 26, and he tops out. So he's 6'3", 270, very well built. He tops out at 19.5 in the fly 10. He tops out at like almost 9 feet in the broad jump. So those are the metrics that college coaches want. I tell parents all the time, colleges recruit 3 things. Character first. Are you coachable? Are you a good teammate? What kind of human being are you? Second is GPA. If they can't talk to you based on your GPA, they're not talking to you. It doesn't matter how good you are. And the third is speed. Coaches want tangible speed data. They don't care how much a kid benches. I've never had a coach. We had Holy Cross in today. I've never had a coach say, oh, how much does he bench? They want to know, how fast is he?
Yeah, it's so important. And you know, I think that the 2 things that people don't understand about speed, because it doesn't seem like an offensive tackle would ever have to be fast because they never sprint in the game, ever. But yet their first step has to be good.
Absolutely.
And, so, like if your first step is slower than that defensive end's first step, you're going to get beat.
Right.
And so that defensive end in the NFL probably ran 4.5 or 4.6, and you ran a 4.8, and that's why you were picked in the first round. And you probably are going to get your step down quick enough to block somebody like Bosa or something like that. But the 2 things they don't understand is that fast athletes are somewhat fatigue resistant. That slow athletes seem to get tired as the game goes on. Slow does not fatigue well. And so I think faster big guys play better late. And you would think that would be due to 100 gassers or something like that. And it's not. It's really your ability to move. And then the other thing is longevity. That slow guys have short careers in the NFL, and the fast offensive tackles come in and they may lock down left tackle for 14 years and they're productive in all 14. So that's why it's kind of counterintuitive, I think, to so many people out there that their big guys need to sprint. And you know probably a lot about high school football in general. I've been told by other coaches that they think that the percentage of bigs that do not sprint in football programs might be as high as 80%. Dad, do you have any idea? I'm like, that seems weird because you do it, but don't you think a lot of coaches, they just try to get big in condition?
I don't know what other folks do. I know that when I was growing up, I can picture some of the bigger guys I played with, they never were exposed to their max velocity. It just wasn't what you did. But our big kids will sprint. Will time their 40s and it's awesome to see. You've always said the same thing. It's like, you're not trying to be better than somebody else. You're trying to be better than you were last week. So as that number comes down, once the kid, if a kid has been running in the 6s and all of a sudden they're in the 5s, like we're throwing a party for that kid. Like that's a huge accomplishment.
Everybody knows it too, right? They all celebrate the big kid.
Huge accomplishment.
Oh yeah.
And
I just love it. And don't you think it's the slow kids that improve the most?
Absolutely. And seeing a big kid move like a sprinter to me is awesome. Like it's great to watch the kids who are just beautiful when they run, but seeing a kid who's not built for speed run as fast as he can with great form to me is like one of the coolest things around.
Do you see the improvement on the field when guys get 1 mile an hour faster?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that you can't deny. Seeing speed translate to a game is one of my favorite things as a coach. I'm thinking about a young man, one of our captains this year, Owen Donahue, who will play at Middlebury. Middlebury is one of the best colleges in America. A shout out to Coach Bandigo. Owen was our safety. He was also our punt returner. He's a 21 mile per hour kid. The ball's in his hands. He's electric. He is electric. And man, it was just fun to watch.
That's great. So in the off season, do you do any traditional aerobic work where you're doing like 30 minutes of consecutive running or stairs?
No, we don't do that. In the summer, we'll add tribe tests and I've always believed that if you're practicing at 3 reps a minute, that is your conditioning. That's something that Tony Franklin said years ago. I believe that will condition kids. And in my experience, it's true.
And I always ask this question because people really feel like if you take this speed first, explosiveness second, and then kind of let practice do the job for you, conditioning wise. And I would like to comment too, the tribe test to me is more of a test or more of it's not typical conditioning. It's not long and slow. You are still at a performance level.
Right.
when you're doing it. It's not like mindless. It's not like 16 110s.
Right.
It really fits more like almost like an agility drill.
Right.
Will condition you too.
It looks like the game.
It looks like the game. I love that. And so the question I always have to ask, is there a price to pay in the first game? Second question, is there a price to pay in the fourth quarter?
Well, I've taken heat for this, right? Any game you lose, the first two things that people will say is they're not in shape and they're not tough, right? That's the world we live in.
Cool.
Leadership comes with criticism. I signed up for it. You've always said come into the season 80% in shape, 100% healthy. I think there's a ton of wisdom there. I want my kids to feel good game 1. I want them to feel as good game 10. I want to do everything I can to make that possible. So I want to prioritize recovery as much as possible during the season. I think I can do a better job, but I do the best I can with balancing our need to prepare with our need to recover.
You don't feel like, have you ever felt like the other team was just in much better shape than you and that's why you got beat?
No, we've come up against teams that were deeper than us. Our high school is in the 700s. We've got about 390 boys in our building. And 10 years ago, our high school was actually double the size. Everything is cyclical. Things fluctuate. So 10 years ago, we were mostly a 2-platoon team. Now we have more kids than I would like playing on both sides of the ball. We will play a large Catholic school that'll dress 115 kids and we'll be able to rotate 5 deep at every position. That's not conditioning, that's depth, right? So I've never experienced a team that I felt like just could run circles around us. I have experienced teams that were deeper than us because of size.
Coaches, Titan GPS is the ultimate tool for football programs, including back-to-back Minnesota State champion Stewartville High School, a leader in sprint-based football. Built specifically for high school football, Titan tracks the metrics that matter: top speed, explosive acceleration, speed repeatability, and the game-changing truck stick. Titan's easy-to-use system delivers actionable insights at a glance, and their exceptional customer service ensures you're supported every step of the way. With built-in leaderboards to fuel competition and unmatched accountability, because the eye in the sky doesn't lie, champions trust Titan GPS, proudly made in the USA. Ready to join the best? Message them on X @Titan Sensor today to get started.
One of the things when you're talking about starting the season, 80% in shape, 100% healthy, and I think that the best barometer of health is speed. So you could also you could change that and say our goal is to come in 80% in shape, 100% fast.
Absolutely.
And Pedro Arruza in the 5th episode of this is our 6th sprint-based football app, but Pedro Arruza from Randolph-Macon, it was just terrific. And he said he was like a star fullback in college, running back, running the ball like 30 times a game. And he said that walking into day 1, he never felt faster. He never felt healthier ever again during that entire season. And even then, he had the idea that there has to be a better way of doing this, that you should not be doing mindless conditioning going into the 13th week.
And he tells that story of being in the playoffs, going to play Mountain Union, who's a juggernaut in Division III football, and his coach conditioning them the week of the game. And an assistant coach was yelling, "We're going to win because of this." And he's thinking to himself, "We're going to lose because of this."
I just absolutely love that. And then he also told the story, we could tell stories all night, but he also told the story that a couple of his most amazing games they ever played were games that they're full of anxiety because they missed a practice or two due to weather, travel, ice, whatever. And is like, we're just going to get smoked. And they go in and win 46-0. And they're like, maybe practicing less, right, might have helped us.
Well, like you said, fast and fresh win games, right? Do less and achieve more. Tony Franklin always said great teams practice less as the season goes on, and not talking about drastically less, but shaving a couple plays here and there, 5 minutes off this period, 5 minutes off this period. You're honing an edge. And I remember as an athlete what it felt like when my legs were fresh, and I want kids to feel that way at the end of the season. That's my goal. We do some in-season speed tests to see where they're at as much as possible. I try to emphasize the recovery. If a kid needs a day off, I'm giving them one. RPR is something we haven't talked about. We do the full zone 1, 2, and 3 RPR every week as a part of our recovery, and it's worked out well for us.
Yeah, so I'm always interested, like there's no rule or textbook on implementation. Some people do zone 1 only. They do it every day. We do it only on speed days. We RPR today because we ran 10, a 20, and a 40 fly. But we only do zone 1. And other people, like, are you saying that you do a big version once a week?
Yeah. So when we train, we just do zone 1, like during today, so over the winter, the spring, the summer, we'll do zone 1 right before we do the atomic workout. In the season, commonly the second day after the game when we're in for film, or maybe the day after the game, we'll do all zone 1, 2, and 3, take about 5 and 7 minutes. I think that personally, I believe in it. I'm 47. I think it helps me still move well. Our kids, I think buy into it because we've had success and because I model it. I ask them to buy into it. I'm sure that some kids think it's a little silly, but so is high school.
Yes. And I think that modeling is really important. And I think that kids are typically confident in things we're confident in, that we have to sell what we're doing, because even like in a sprint-based football situation, I know Dan Quesenberry at the SNC guy at Ravenwood High School, where we're having our second sprint-based football clinic, and we have people from 19 states flying in. So it's really going to be cool. But he talked about how they practice. I think I told the story of a coach I coached with that gave Thursdays off.
Yeah.
Very interesting. They went 8-1 and there was a special board meeting to fire him.
He got fired. I remember that.
Like if you lose taking Thursdays off, you're in big trouble.
Right. Absolutely.
But what they did is they come in before school. And so their kids go home at 2:30 or 3 o'clock or whatever on Thursday afternoons. They have like 36 hours away from football going into that game. So there's all types of different ways to create these recovery breaks.
Right.
And do you do anything special recovery-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So other than the RPR we do every week, when we have a bye week, I try to give them 4 days off completely. Our kids want to work. Our culture is one of that demands elite behavior. And
yes,
that's
4 days.
That's something I'm real proud of. But I try to give them, if we have a bye week, I try to give them a full 4 days, like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Bye week, 4 days off.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
And the NFL does that too, right?
Right. So Monday might be a film day, but they're not in pads. Tuesday might be, potentially a walkthrough or some other kind of like, non-stress day. But I do try to, let them reset, recover. I want them to come back fresher. That whole idea about the grind, like, yes, we love the work. We love the process of becoming the best we can be, but we're not built to go hard every day. We have to recover. Rest is training. Kids, they want to work every day. And I love that about them, but you get stronger on your off days.
And I think, I tell the story that we do have about 8 weeks of track, indoor, cold, freeze, and all that stuff. Then we take 9 days off, spring break. And then we come back for another 8 weeks. And I am uncomfortable during that time, as all coaches would be, right? Like, oh, gee, I don't even see my guys. They're off on cruises and vacations and things. And we come back faster.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because of not practicing.
Yeah. I don't know if it was you or Brian Kula or Christian McCaffrey, but rest is training.
It is. I think it's all of us. I think it's Kula saying that. Kevin McCaffrey say it. I say it. I mean, Brad Dixon says that. Garrett Muller says that. All these guys are like, it's really a race to see how little we can do, because the less we do, the stronger and faster we are. And so that's where essentialism comes in.
Right. Do less, achieve more. One thing about that I'm really pumped about is to start to measure the truck stick, which is Coach Miller's metric. Essentially it's fly 10 divided by body weight, I believe.
No, it's times body weight.
Times body weight.
The bigger you are and the faster you are, the bigger your truck stick.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love how he has numbers that translate directly to kind of an all-conference performer. And I'm really excited to get that going with our guys this spring into summer.
Yeah, and that just, I think it's really good to reward max velocity, have the bands and all that kind of stuff. But I had a coach in Alabama ask me, and this is like one of the things we have to talk out as sprint-based football coaches and help these other coaches. They see me as saying that speed's the most important thing. And they say, well, what do you say if I told you our fastest guy will never get on the field because he can't catch? And he just sucks. And I'm like, excuse me, but I have never said that speed's the only thing.
Right.
But among similar size, similar skilled players,
absolutely,
it's the differentiator.
Being faster makes you better.
At the NFL Combine, there are no short offensive tackles.
Yeah.
There's no offensive tackles that don't weigh 315 or more.
Right.
They're all similar. They all have good tape. So the differentiator is that one guy runs a 4, and he's the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yep.
Another guy runs 5.4, and he ain't going to be drafted. So it's a differentiator. And people think I'm saying speed's the only thing. I will have to say, though, when it comes to Garrett Muller's truck stick, is that when you take pounds converted to kilograms times miles per hour converted to meters per second, both conversions are easy. If anybody wants a free spreadsheet that does that for you, just email me, call me, whatever. But if you have a 1,000 truck stick, if somebody moves in to Hand High School and has a 1,000 truck stick,
we'll take it.
I don't think he'll suck.
Right. Yeah.
Big
Talking about Division I player.
Big and fast is just is such a beautiful, perfect combination.
Absolutely.
He will learn how to defensive line or linebacker or offensive guard. There's a place for a guy that's big and fast. So I think that in a way, truck stick is even more important than speed. It's great.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. My free lap is actually getting fixed right now. Mark Hoover's fixing one of the cones that got kicked by accident. And once it comes back, I'm gonna start. I have that conversion chart that you're speaking of. Garrett put it out on Twitter, and I'm really pumped to get that metric going. Printing up the little bracelets for it and everything.
So you're going to use bracelets?
Yeah, baby.
All right. Cool stuff. I think Garrett uses dog tags.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing too, is that what's really cool about this podcast is that we're showing the similarities, but we're also showing the differences. And I think the similarities are the general ideas, how to cook stuff. And then the recipe is highly dependent on your budget, where you are, can you get outside? Do you have enough room to get to top speed?
Right.
All these things. And there's many different ways to install these ideas as long as you're staying between the parameters of the sprint-based ideas.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful movement. And Tony, you started it.
Oh, I kind of did. But like I say, Hal Mummy, he was a sprint-based coach. He didn't call it that. He didn't, have a podcast where he said, I'm a sprint-based coach or something. And Brian Kula was sprint-based, and McCaffrey sprint-based, and Saquon Barkley decided to be sprint-based starting February 27th last year when he asked me how much more should he be doing. And I said, no, it's how much less you should be doing. And, I think he looks younger and faster now than he ever has.
Absolutely. He's playing with one of our alumni, Jack Driscoll. Daniel Hand High School class of 15 is number 63 on the Eagles. He's a offensive guard or tackle.
He's a starter, isn't he?
He started a few games this year. Right now, he's a backup. He was a undersized kid coming out of high school. He was a basketball kid, and it's hard to gain weight, when you're playing basketball. And UMass took a shot on him. Mark Whipple took him. He's got great genetics, and he was able to carry, like 50, 60 more pounds. He was all conference 3 years, and he took a grad transfer to Auburn, started 2 years for Gus Malzahn, and got drafted by the Eagles. He's been in the league, I think 7 or 8 years. He was a kid who ran, 3:15, whatever. He ran like a 5 flat. And I remember that was a pretty big number.
You mentioned he's a basketball player. Sometimes this guy grades out as the number 1 pass protector in the league. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Johnson, for the Lance Johnson, is there the offensive tackle, 6'6",
sounds
for the
familiar.
Eagles. Anyway, he was 6'6", and he's a quarterback in college. And I think he ran a 4.71 at the combine.
Wow.
And I think just the way you reacted, like, wow, what an athlete. And I think people forget too that these offensive tackles were probably multi-sport athletes.
Absolutely, right?
Because basketball, being able to dunk,
Right. So the whole idea of the track football consortium are every young man and woman needs to play multiple sports, and any coach saying otherwise, I think, is not speaking in the best interest of that kid.
Yep. And I think that we should continue to give opportunities to the kids that can't make the basketball team. But if you really look at the most successful players in the pros or in college or whatever, they very seldom were products of eating a lot, lifting a bunch of weights, and playing one sport.
Right.
That is just, it's just so rare. And people say, well, yeah, you're telling people if you play 3 sports, you're going to be in the NFL. That's crazy talk. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that I want to know too, you said his name was Driscoll?
Jack Driscoll's on the Eagles. Yep.
And I have a picture that he's maybe 6'4", 200 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. So he was about 6'3", 245. He had Army, he had Holy Cross, like that was the interest level. UMass was sort of the best thing he had coming out of high school. And I believe the fact that he played basketball is what made him so good. His feet. And right now with Timmy O'Malley, who's our big, Timmy has Yale, Harvard, Dartmouth, Brown, Lehigh. He's a basketball kid. And, he's the 19 mile per hour, 6'3", 270 young man. The fact that he's able to play basketball is only benefiting him on the football field.
Can he dunk?
I don't know.
That would be hard,
question.
Wouldn't it, for 270?
That's a good question. I have not seen it. I cannot neither confirm nor deny.
Well, let's just say that I bet he jumps higher than most 270-pound tackles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what basketball players do. And, I just love the multi-directional stuff. I love jumping and stopping and starting. I think you get healthier knees and hips and ankles by playing basketball. And I just don't know, you can dream up all kinds of agility type stuff, and it's just not the same.
Right.
But, the bad thing is you have to be pretty good to get to play.
No doubt.
Basketball, because only 5 guys at a time get to play. He gets to play.
Yeah, he's a starter. He's fun to watch. He's just a wonderful young man. He's just a really good-natured, humble, kind young man. And my goal for any kid is to be the nicest guy off the field, the meanest guy on the field.
Oh, I love that. What
else do you want to touch on here?
We're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon, but you do a great deal of character building as well.
Yeah.
With your guys. Can you explain some of the unique things that you do?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So number one, I feel like I am a shepherd. This is ministry. I have a flock, and I am blessed and grateful every day to lead this flock. This is their rite of passage. I believe that in their young life, the experience of playing football at Daniel Hand will be a rite of passage that they will reflect on positively for the rest of their lives. The football is men's work. Football, for me, fills a deep need for community with other men. We are a circle of men of all ages who coach our boys. We've got guys in their 80s. We've got guys, coached in their 20s. And we are shepherding these young men through a transformational experience in their young lives, playing football on Strong Field in Madison on a Friday night, wearing the black and gold, playing under 14 state championship banners is a peak experience. And I want to help them have the most profound and powerful positive experience possible. In addition, we do a weekly character program. In 2004, I read the book called Season of Life by Jeffrey Marks, which is the story of a man named Joe Ehrman, who at the time was coaching the Gilman Greyhounds. Joe was a 2-sport athlete at Syracuse. He played lacrosse and he played football. He was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. He was an all-pro defensive end, defensive tackle, and he lived the life of a young, rich, professional athlete. It was money, it was booze, it was women, it was nonstop good times. And when he was 28, his younger brother came down with a disease called aplastic anemia and was given 6 months to live. And everything Joe had based his life on suddenly crumbled. And he went back and reevaluated what it meant to be a man. And he came up with 3 things that true masculinity is based on. And those are the ability to give love to others, opening yourself up to love, the ability to receive love, and the ability to commit to a cause bigger than yourself. And he teaches those through the game of football. And the book Season of Life, I would recommend to anybody. It's right up there with A Perfect Pass as my 2 favorite football books. He wrote a great book called Inside Out Coaching. He does incredible work speaking around the country. He's got a great TED Talk. And I wrote this 10-week character program inspired by that book. It's something we do as a team every Wednesday. My captains lead it. It's an opportunity for them to talk, to speak, to talk about.
Are you in the classroom when you do that?
We sit outside in some bleachers, and it's profound to me to hear young boys stand up and talk from the heart to speak about things like gratitude, like humility, like respect. We have hero stories, people like Muhammad Ali, people like Martin Luther King. I got Lou Gehrig in there, I got Bruce Springsteen in there. And it's just it's a powerful way for them to reflect deeply on other skills beside blocking and tackling.
That's fantastic. It really sounds a lot like the Steve Jones stuff that he does and the stuff that he has taught so many other coaches to do through his book, The Twin Thieves. And what was the name of the book again, Coach?
Season of Life by Jeffrey Marks.
Yeah, and I think giving book recommendations so important, because, we have to encourage. I'd say that you're going to be the same person you are now 10 years from now, except for the people you meet and the books you read. Somebody else said that, I think, but I'll act like I'm saying it tonight. And I think the two of us, we read books and we cherish, learning new things. I've learned more in the last 10 years than my entire life.
Absolutely. Read.
I'll finish with this question, and this is really important. You can only pick one Bob Dylan song.
Wow.
And people don't realize that we're sending each other music several times a week. And I cherish that friendship with you. Your favorite song?
Right now, it's going to be Mississippi off of Love and Theft.
And he put that out as an old man, didn't he?
2001.
Yeah. That's I always drift back to the old stuff more. But
what's your answer right now?
Geesh, it'd be a tie between several of the songs on the tracks. Simple Twist of Fate, Lonesome When You Go, If You See Her, Say Hello. Beautiful, beautiful songs. And we both thought the movie was an 11 on a scale of 10.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've actually downloaded Chalamet's music from that, and it's damn good. It's great. So I appreciate everything you do, and thank you so much for coming on. This is going to be a great episode, and I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, man, thank you, Tony. You absolutely changed my life, and keep shining your light. I'll keep preaching.
Thanks, Eric. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you again for listening to the Sprint-based football series on the Coach and Coordinator podcast. Be sure to check out our presenting sponsor, Titan GPS. It's used by Sprint-based football coaches to get better data and understand the player load and how they can adjust that over the course of the season. It'll help you find out a lot about your team. It's used by Garrett Muller, who's a two-time state champion at Stewartville High School in Minnesota. He uses it for all kinds of things, like seeing how his team's speed is progressing over the course of the season. I could say that in 2024, they actually got faster over the course of the season following their sprint-based football recipe. Titan Sensors also has the popular truck stick metric designed specifically for football and inspired by sprint-based football. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. You can get our show notes there. We have articles on these episodes as well. And follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.